Walter didn't know when he started disappearing. It wasn't dramatic, no big diagnosis, no emergency, just a slow, quiet erosion of energy, clarity, and will. He used to fix things around the house. Now he struggled to get out of bed before 10. He used to walk with his wife after dinner. Now he barely made it around the block. His kids said, "You're just getting older, Dad." But Walter knew something was wrong. It wasn't pain. It was a kind of fading. He wasn't depressed, not exactly, but he wasn't really living either. And then, during a routine appointment, his doctor said something that froze him. "Do you know the average life expectancy for men in this country is 76, women 81? But here's what most people miss. The average person starts breaking down fast after 82 if they make it." Walter blinked. "But why?" he asked. The doctor hesitated. "It's not disease, not genetics. It's a silent condition we call functional decline. Most older adults don't die from illness. They die from slowing down so much their bodies forget how to recover." Walter went home that day shaken. He looked in the mirror and finally said the truth out loud. "I don't want to die just because I stopped moving." And that night, something woke up in him. He began researching, reading, listening to older men who had survived past 82 and still had light in their eyes. And over the next few weeks, he discovered something astonishing. There were three common habits that showed up again and again in the elderly who thrived, and one dangerous daily pattern that quietly took most people down. It wasn't sugar, it wasn't sleep, it was something no one talked about. Stillness that became permanent, not just in the legs, in the mind, in the breath, in the desire to live. And if you're over 60 right now, if you've been telling yourself, "I'm fine," while your world quietly shrinks, then you need to see what Walter saw before the countdown catches up with you too. Walter didn't wait for a second opinion. He had seen enough. Study after study confirmed it. After age 60, most people begin a steady decline not because of illness, but because of a subtle, invisible shift. A single phrase kept showing up in the research. Low movement equals low life. And it wasn't just about walking or exercising. It was about a complete slowing of systems: circulation, digestion, cognition, even emotional resilience. One researcher wrote, "We don't die of disease. We die of disuse." That hit Walter hard, because that's exactly what had happened to his friend Dennis. Dennis had been a sharp, funny, independent man. But after his wife passed, he stopped doing little things. Stopped making coffee, stopped shaving every morning, stopped playing cards. 6 months later, he fell. 8 months later, he was in a wheelchair. By 81, he was gone. Not from a stroke, not from cancer, from shrinking, from withdrawal, from a kind of slow surrender no one noticed until it was too late. That's when Walter realized something that would change everything in Mom. The most dangerous thing after 60 is not what stops your heart, but what slowly tells your body there's no reason to keep beating. We now call this condition the quiet exit pattern. It begins subtly, staying inside more, skipping the morning stretch, avoiding social invitations. But underneath, your systems start shutting down. Your muscles weaken, your blood stops moving efficiently, your immune system forgets how to fight. Your brain slowly dims, not from disease, but from lack of stimulation. And by the time you reach 82, the body has forgotten how to bounce back. It's not a cliff, it's a slope. And the descent feels comfortable until it isn't. Walter decided he wasn't going down like that. He started small. He began tapping his fingers while watching TV, rotating his ankles while brushing his teeth, breathing deeper, standing every hour. And most importantly, paying attention to what made him feel alive. Because now he knew. Stillness is not peace, it's preparation for fading. And movement, even small, stubborn, daily movement, was the only way to tell his body, "Not yet, I'm not done living." Walter didn't want a gym routine. He didn't want another pill. He wanted something real, simple, repeatable, something that would make his body remember it still had reason. So he built 3 habits. 3 things he would do every single day, even if they felt small, especially if they felt small. He called it his recovery loop, because that's what it gave him. A loop of motion, of oxygen, of presence, a loop his body could follow to avoid the slow fade no one talks about. The first habit, lung work. Every morning before his coffee, Walter opened the window and stood tall. He placed one hand on his stomach and the other on his chest, and he breathed. In through the nose for 5 seconds, hold, and out through the mouth for 7, 10 breaths, every day. That's it. But within a week, he noticed something strange. He wasn't gasping when he climbed stairs. He didn't need to lean on the rail at the grocery store. His energy no longer bottomed out at 3 p.m., and the science backed it up. Lung exercises increase oxygen saturation, improve cellular repair, boost immune defense, and most importantly, they keep your brain alert, because when oxygen flows, so does life. The second habit, micro movement. He set a timer for every 90 minutes. When it went off, he stood up, rolled his shoulders, reached down to his toes, walked the hallway once. 2 minutes. That's all. But it told his blood vessels, his joints, and his nervous system, we're still here. We're still moving. Doctors now know that people over 60 who interrupt sitting every 90 minutes lower their risk of death by nearly 30%. Not from marathons, from momentum. The third habit, friction touch. Walter sat each night and rubbed his hands together, then his arms, his legs. Not hard, not fast, just enough to wake the skin. Because circulation isn't just about movement, it's about reminding your body you still want to be here. What Walter discovered is what so many people never hear. It's not about doing more. It's about not letting yourself stop completely. Because once the body forgets how to come alive, it starts planning how to leave. Walter had never been one for reflection. He did things, built things, solved problems. But now, as the days slowed, he found himself staring into mirrors longer. Not out of vanity, out of curiosity. He wanted to know who was still in there. And what surprised him wasn't what had faded. It was what remained. His eyes still held fire. His hands, though slower, still knew their work. His chest still rose and fell with breath, strong, steady, alive. And something inside him whispered, "Don't you dare waste this." That's when Walter realized something else, something every doctor confirmed, but few dare to say. Most people don't die of aging. They die of detachment. Detachment from their bodies, detachment from their breath, detachment from people, touch, challenge, purpose. He remembered an old nurse's words from the hospital once. People don't just slip away. They drift away. From the world, from themselves, from their own heartbeat. That was the real danger. Not aging, but disengaging. So Walter made a decision. Each day he would do one thing to remind his nervous system, his heart, his muscles, and his mind. I'm still in here. Sometimes that meant calling someone he hadn't spoken to in years. Sometimes it meant singing while making eggs. Sometimes it meant placing his hand over his own chest and whispering, "Stay with me." What he discovered wasn't mystical, it was biological. The body listens to attention, and when you give it consistent signs that you're still participating, still choosing, still reaching, still touching, it responds. Your circulation improves. Your digestion wakes up. Your immune system stops shrinking. Your mind stays sharper longer. We now call this the engagement signal, a daily physical reminder that tells your autonomic system there is still life here. And when that signal goes out consistently, your body sends life back. Walter didn't feel young again. He felt present. And that presence did something no prescription ever had. It gave him back the urgency to live. Walter didn't outrun time. He didn't reverse aging. But he did something most people don't. He refused to disappear quietly. Every morning he woke with a short list. Breathe, move, reach out, feel something, say something real. And every night he asked himself the same question. Did I show my body I still want to live? Not in big ways, not by running marathons or jumping out of planes, by being present enough to remind his cells, his heart, and his spirit, you're not done. Because that's what the science all pointed to, and what the wisest elders echoed in different words. People don't live past 82 because they avoid death. They live past 82 because they keep choosing life. choosing movement when the chair feels safer, choosing breath when anxiety stiffens the chest, choosing voice when silence seems easier, choosing touch when shame says to pull away. This is what doctors now call the life continuation loop, a pattern where physical engagement leads to emotional clarity. Emotional clarity leads to social connection. And that connection gives the body reason to regulate, repair, and continue. Walter didn't wait for a second chance. He made his first one count again. He danced in his kitchen. He held Marianne's hand longer. He wrote letters to people who never expected to hear from him. And on his 83rd birthday, he stood in front of the mirror and whispered, "You made it." Then he smiled, not because he beat the odds, but because he chose to show up for life one breath at a time, long enough that his body believed him. So if you're listening and you're past 60, don't just check your pulse, answer it. Don't just wait to survive. Interrupt the stillness. Even if all you do is breathe deeper, stand taller, touch your own arm, speak one true thing today. Do that every day because it may be the very reason your heart keeps beating after 82.